Think your fridge keeps everything fresh? Think again. You might be unknowingly ruining the taste, texture, even the nutrition of some of your favorite foods just by putting them in the fridge. From mushy tomatoes to bitter bananas. In this video we'll reveal the top everyday foods you should never refrigerate and why room temperature is their best friend. Stay tuned, because avoiding these common mistakes can save you money and elevate your meals. Let's open the fridge and uncover what really doesn't belong inside. Potatoes. Storing potatoes in the refrigerator may seem like a good way to keep them fresh, but it can actually do more harm than good. When potatoes are kept at cold temperatures, particularly below 8 degrees Celsius, 46 degrees Fahrenheit, the starch inside them begins to convert into sugar more rapidly. This process not only alters the natural flavor of the potato, making it overly sweet, but also affects its texture, turning it gritty or unpleasant when cooked. Moreover, this sugar conversion has health implications. When refrigerated potatoes are later cooked, especially at high temperatures like frying or baking, the excess sugar can react with amino acids in the potato to produce acrylamide, a potentially harmful chemical that has been linked to cancer in animal studies. While more research is needed to understand its impact on human health, food safety authorities generally recommend avoiding excessive acrylamide consumption. In addition to flavor and safety concerns, refrigeration can cause the skin of the potato to become wrinkled or develop spots. Instead of the fridge, potatoes should be stored in a cool, dark, and well-ventilated place, such as a pantry or cellar. Keep them in a paper or mesh bag, never a plastic bag, as it traps moisture and accelerates. Proper storage helps preserve their taste, texture, and nutritional value, allowing you to enjoy your potatoes as they were meant to be: earthy, firm, and delicious. Onion. Storing onions in the refrigerator may seem like a convenient choice, but it can actually shorten their shelf life and affect their quality. Onions are best kept in a cool, dry, and well-ventilated space, not in the fridge. The main reason is that refrigerators create a cold and humid environment, which causes onions to absorb moisture. This excess moisture can lead to mold growth, mushy texture, and sprouting, making your onions spoil faster than if they were kept in the right conditions. Additionally, the cold temperature can change the natural chemical balance inside onions, softening them and dulling their sharp, distinct flavor. When stored in the fridge next to foods with strong odors, onions can also absorb those smells or, conversely, pass their pungent aroma onto other items. Another problem is that cut or peeled onions, when stored improperly in the fridge, can become breeding grounds for bacteria. While whole unpeeled onions should be kept at room temperature, chopped onions can be refrigerated, but only in a tightly sealed container to maintain freshness and prevent odor transfer. In short, for the best taste, texture, and shelf life, store whole onions in a dry, dark, and airy space, away from potatoes, which release moisture and gases that can make onions rot faster. This will keep them fresh, crisp, and flavorful for weeks. Tomatoes. Refrigerating tomatoes might seem like a logical way to keep them fresh longer, but it actually harms their flavor, texture, and ripening process. Tomatoes are sensitive to cold temperatures. When stored in the fridges, especially below 10 degrees Celsius, 50 degrees Fahrenheit, their natural ripening process is disrupted. This cold environment damages the membranes inside the tomato cells, leading to a mealy or mushy texture that ruins the juicy bite we expect from fresh tomatoes. But the biggest loss is in flavor. Tomatoes develop their rich, sweet, and tangy taste best at room temperature. Chilling them dulls their natural flavor by slowing down the activity of the enzymes responsible for producing aromatic compounds. Even if you bring refrigerated tomatoes back to room temperature, that vibrant flavor is often permanently diminished. Refrigeration also slows or halts the ripening of unripe tomatoes, leaving them bland and underdeveloped. Instead, tomatoes should be kept at room temperature, away from direct sunlight, with the stem side down to reduce moisture loss and bruising. Once they're fully ripe, if you must store them for a day or two longer, you can put them in the fridge, but bring them to room temperature before eating to help restore some of their flavor. In summary, to enjoy tomatoes at their best, juicy, firm, and flavorful, keep them out of the fridge and let them ripen naturally on your counter. Keeping bread in the refrigerator might seem like a smart way to extend its freshness, but it actually has the opposite effect. The cold temperature inside the fridge speeds up a process called retrogradation, where the starch molecules in bread recrystallize and draw moisture out of the bread. This causes the bread to become dry, tough, and stale much faster than if it was stored at room temperature. While refrigeration does slow down mold growth, it sacrifices texture and taste. Instead of soft and fluffy slices, you end up with dry, crumbly ones that are far less enjoyable to eat. That's why room temperature is ideal for storing bread you plan to eat within a few days. Keep it in a bread box, a cloth bag, or tightly wrapped in plastic or foil in a cool, dry place. If you have more bread than you can eat in a short time, the freezer is a much better option than the fridge. Freezing halts staling and mold growth without damaging the texture. Just slice the bread first, freeze it in an airtight bag, and take out only what you need. Toast or thaw individual slices as needed. In summary, to keep your bread fresh, soft, and flavorful, avoid the refrigerator. Store it properly at room temperature or freeze it for long-term use. Bananas are tropical fruits and are highly sensitive to cold temperatures. Storing bananas in the refrigerator, especially before they're ripe, can interfere with their natural ripening process and negatively affect both their appearance and taste. The cold environment slows down the enzymes responsible for ripening, causing the fruit to stay hard and underripe on the inside while the peel turns an unappetizing dark brown or black. This discoloration of the skin is not harmful, but it makes the bananas look overripe or spoiled, even when the fruit inside is still firm and unripe. Also, refrigeration causes the texture of bananas to become mushy or slimy, especially once they're fully ripe, ruining the smooth, creamy mouthfeel they're known for. Instead, bananas should be stored at room temperature, away from direct sunlight. If you want to speed up ripening, you can place them in a paper bag, possibly with an apple or avocado fruits that emit ethylene gas and help accelerate the process. Once bananas are fully ripe and you want to preserve them a bit longer, you can refrigerate them briefly, but be prepared for the peels to darken. For long-term storage, peel and freeze bananas, either whole or sliced, which is perfect for smoothies or baking. In short, keep bananas out of the fridge until they're fully ripe, and even then, only chill them if you plan to use them soon. Room temperature is their natural comfort zone. Stone fruits, peaches, plums, nectarines. When unripe stone fruits like peaches, plums, nectarines, apricots, and cherries are best enjoyed when perfectly ripe, juicy, and fragrant. However, if these fruits are placed in the refrigerator before they are fully ripe, the cold temperature halts the natural ripening process, leaving them bland, hard, and lacking in flavor. Ripening in stone fruits is driven by natural enzymes and the production of ethylene gas, which works best at room temperature. When exposed to the cold air of a fridge, this enzymatic activity slows down dramatically, resulting in fruit that remains firm and tasteless, even if brought back to room temperature later. The texture and flavor often never fully recover. Refrigeration can also negatively affect the texture by damaging the delicate cell structure, making the fruit mealy or rubbery once it does ripen. In contrast, allowing stone fruits to ripen on the counter leads to a sweeter, softer, and more aromatic eating experience. So, it's best to store unripe stone fruits at room temperature, ideally in a paper bag, to trap ethylene and encourage ripening. Once fully ripe and fragrant, you can refrigerate them for a couple of days if necessary to slow further ripening, but they're always best eaten fresh. In short, don't refrigerate stone fruits until they're ripe. Let nature take its course on the counter, and you'll be rewarded with peak flavor and perfect texture. Garlic is a hardy, long-lasting bulb when stored correctly, but the refrigerator is not the place for it. When garlic is kept in the fridge, the cold and humid environment encourages premature sprouting. Sprouted garlic not only tastes bitter and sharp, but it also loses much of its original flavor and nutritional value. While sprouted cloves are still technically safe to eat, their taste and texture become less desirable. Additionally, the moisture in the fridge can cause garlic bulbs to become soft, rubbery, or even moldy over time. Garlic needs air circulation and a dry environment to stay fresh and firm. When refrigerated, the cloves may also become sticky or start to rot, especially if they're stored in a sealed bag or container without ventilation. Instead, garlic should be stored in a cool, dry, dark place with good air circulation, such as a pantry or kitchen shelf in a mesh bag, basket, or paper bag. When stored properly, whole heads of garlic can last for weeks or even months without spoiling. If you've already peeled or chopped the garlic, you can refrigerate it in an airtight container for short-term use, but whole bulbs should always stay out of the fridge to preserve their flavor, texture, and shelf life. In summary, to keep your garlic fresh, avoid the fridge and choose a dry, ventilated spot instead. It'll stay flavorful, aromatic, and ready to enhance your cooking anytime. Honey is one of nature's most shelf-stable foods, and it does not need refrigeration. In fact, putting honey in the fridge can actually harm its quality. When honey is stored in cold temperatures, it undergoes a natural process called crystallization, where the sugars solidify and the honey becomes grainy or thick. While crystallized honey is still safe to eat, its texture can become inconvenient and unappealing, especially for spreading or pouring. Refrigeration also slows down the natural enzymes in raw honey, which are responsible for many of its health benefits, including antibacterial and antioxidant properties. Keeping honey cold doesn't preserve it better, it just speeds up changes that can make it harder to use. The best way to store honey is in a tightly sealed container at room temperature, in a cool, dry place away from direct sunlight. Under proper conditions, honey can remain fresh and unspoiled for years, even decades, thanks to its low moisture content and natural acidity, which prevent bacteria and mold from growing. If your honey does crystallize, you can gently warm the jar in a bowl of warm water to return it to its liquid state. No need to throw it away. In short, never store honey in the fridge. It lasts best at room temperature and remains smooth, sweet, and ready to use whenever you need it. Mangoes, papayas, and melons. Unripe tropical fruits like mangoes, papayas, and melons should never be stored in the refrigerator because the cold environment interferes with their natural ripening process. These fruits rely on enzymes and ethylene gas to develop their full sweetness, aroma, and juicy texture, processes that work best at room temperature. When stored in the fridge too early, the cold air slows down or stops ripening altogether, leaving the fruit bland, hard, and lacking flavor, in addition to poor taste. Refrigeration can damage the internal structure of these fruits when they're still unripe, leading to mealy or rubbery flesh that never fully ripens. The outer skin may remain unchanged, but the inside will lose its potential to become soft, sweet, and succulent. Instead, unripe mangoes, papayas, and melons should be kept on the kitchen counter, preferably in a fruit bowl or paper bag, to encourage ripening. Once they are fully ripe, soft to the touch, and fragrant, they can be stored in the refrigerator for a few days to slow down further ripening and prevent spoilage. This ensures you get the rich flavor, smooth texture, and juicy sweetness. These fruits are loved for coffee beans or ground. Storing coffee, whether whole beans or ground, in the refrigerator is a common mistake that can actually ruin its flavor, aroma, and freshness. Coffee is highly absorbent and acts like a sponge for moisture, odors, and flavors in its environment. In the fridge, where humidity levels fluctuate and strong food smells abound, coffee can easily absorb unwanted odors like onions, cheese, or leftovers, which then affect its taste when brewed. Additionally, opening and closing the fridge causes condensation to form inside the coffee container, especially if it's not fully airtight. This moisture exposure leads to a loss of aroma, dull flavor, and can even cause coffee grounds or beans to go stale or moldy faster. Once coffee's natural oils are exposed to moisture and air, they begin to degrade, leaving you with a flat or bitter cup. The ideal way to store coffee is in an opaque, airtight container in a cool, dark, and dry place, like a pantry or kitchen cupboard, away from heat and light. Whole beans last longer than ground coffee, so for maximum freshness, it's best to grind your beans just before brewing. And there you have it. Keeping these foods out of the fridge can help preserve their flavor, texture, and nutrients. Sometimes, less chill is actually more freshness. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more smart kitchen tips, and hit that bell icon so you never miss an update. Got a food storage question or a mistake you've made? Share it in the comment suite. Love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and remember, not everything loves the cold. See you in the next video.